Hello and welcome to this week's weekly wind-up with me, Helen Ashcroft. Coming up on today's show, we'll be discussing two topics. The first one, making your life easier by taking away the stresses and strains we seem to have in our lives. And the second topic, well, what is there to do in Huddersfield for this year's freshers? And as normal, we will have two guests that will be discussing the topics for this show. My first guest is Tee Liburd, who is a clinical hypnotherapist. And also we're joined with George Gill, who is the Huddersfield Student Union representative. Okay then, so Tee, tell me a little bit about hypnotherapy. How long have you been doing it and what is it?
I've been doing hypnotherapy now, Helen, for about 3.5 years.
Right.
Hypnotherapy can be described as a form of deep relaxation.
Okay.
When I perform hypnotherapy with my clients, it allows them to go into a deep trance. It's almost like them being a light sleep or towards a heavy sleep.
Okay. Now, George, we asked you just before we started filming if you understood what this was and whether or not you'd had it. And you said that you hadn't had it?
Nope, I've never had it before.
But what did you think it was when we first said hypnotherapy?
I've had a mate before that went to a show and he got hypnotised by one of the actors or performers on stage, and he got put on stage in front of everybody.
Right.
So that's the kind of thing I thought it was, obviously not.
Okay, well that means that you're going to learn something today, doesn't it?
Indeed.
So, hypnotherapy, it's about going into a deep trance?
Yeah, I mean, as I said earlier, Helen, when I put my clients under hypnosis, it allows them to go into deep trance.
Right.
In our everyday lives, we don't always give ourselves time to relax and give ourselves time to get in touch with what we call our subconscious,
right,
which is the main part that drives us. Within our subconscious, there's lots of memories, there's lots of things that we've experienced from an early age. When I put my clients under hypnosis, it allows them to get in contact with those things which they put at the back of their minds. And these may be things which may have affected them in their normal everyday sort of life. And they could be issues which affect them in terms of the sort of phobias that might have. They might be scared of things like spiders or snakes.
Yeah.
And they may be scared of doing things like flying.
Yeah.
And I help clients as well who lack confidence and self-esteem.
Right. Okay. I mean, looking at your banner, I can see that there's an awful lot of things. So
Yes.
this one therapy, this hypnotherapy, it does all of those then?
Yes, yes.
So say somebody decided that they had, let's pick one off your banner, let's say panic attacks.
Okay.
Okay, so they contact you and it's affecting their everyday life. So talk me through what would happen from somebody initially making that call to you.
Okay, well what I do, I arrange an appointment.
Right.
I carry out an initial consultation, which is free.
Okay.
That allows me to, for when the client comes to see me, I
Yeah.
get them to fill out a questionnaire.
Yeah.
And that allows me to find out a little bit more about them in terms of their professional life, their personal life, how long has the issue been affecting them. I look at their family background, what they do for a living, then I go through a checklist and ask them what sort of activities they enjoy doing.
Yeah.
And then I ask them how long the problem's been an issue. Ask them things about whether they're on any sort of medication.
Yeah.
I ask them about their lifestyle, their eating habits. I ask them if they have problems sleeping, just to get an overall picture. So that way I can tailor my therapies to suit them.
Okay, so I get that bit. So they come to you,
Yes.
not you go to them. Right. So you've done all that. Now, George, you thought that in this situation you'd get totally hypnotised and you'd probably end up standing on one leg and making all sorts of funny noises perhaps,
Yep.
because that's the hypnosis side. So what do? Do you just sit and have a chat, or how does it actually work?
Yeah, I mean, through my training, one of the key points that I was taught about was to build rapport with my clients.
Yeah.
And that is the easiest way, or the most effective way for them to feel safe and secure, and they can exercise an element of trust before they actually come and see me and book in for the session. So the session, the initial consultation also gives them a little bit of a history about hypnosis, because a lot of clients that come to see me, they have this misconception about hypnotherapy. As George pointed out, a lot of people who've had experience of hypnosis or hypnotherapy is from what they see on the stage.
Yeah.
They see the entertainment value.
Yes.
I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, so I help them with the emotional side of things.
Right. Okie dokie. So they'll come in and they'll sit down, and then
I've got a clinic based in Lindley.
All right, okay.
So they sit in my chair.
Yeah.
I've got some headphones.
Yeah.
And the headphones help them to go under a deeper trance.
Right.
And it helps them to understand the suggestions that I'm giving to them while they're under hypnosis.
Yeah.
It's more intensified.
Right.
So that allows it to stay within their subconscious for a lot longer.
Okay. I mean, I find that interesting. So you've said that you've been doing it, relatively a short period of time.
Sure.
What got you into it in the first place?
I could say that I was hypnotised once by Paul McKenna.
A bit like being on stage, like George said.
And through that experience, I was under the whole stage hypnosis.
Yeah.
I was made to dance like Michael Jackson.
Did you?
I did, yes.
Oh, very good.
I was fully in control of what I was doing.
Right.
I was fully awake, even though I was under trance. That wasn't the thing that made me do it, by the way. Since then, for about 15 years or so, I've been into alternative therapies. I did a counselling course about 6-7 years ago.
Okay.
And during my course, my colleagues said to me, "Oh, you've got a voice for hypnotherapy." So that just made me think, I could do this. So for me, it was a continuation from my counselling.
Right.
I've also done neuro-linguistic programming.
Yes.
Which kind of links into hypnotherapy. So that was the main driver for me to want to start doing hypnotherapy.
Wow. I have to say, you have actually used hypnotherapy on me, haven't you?
I have indeed, yes.
Yes. So the reason being, I actually went for a little taster session, and what you did was quite surprising, because I sat in that chair and I said, it won't work. It is not going to work on me. And yeah, you sat me down and you put the earphones on and you sat there with your deep voice, which is a very deep and calming voice, I have to say.
Thank you.
And I did what you said that I had to do, but it worked, because I have had it before previously, when I was trying to deal with something a long time ago, and I just fell asleep and started snoring. So I don't think that particularly worked for me. It did relax me because I was snoring, but it wasn't the result I wanted. You, on the other hand, you actually did something, but it wasn't scary, and it just was so calming. And when I came round from it, I can still remember it, and like now I'm actually replaying what you said, and yeah, it has had an effect. And that was just a little session. So for me, it was a little session and it worked. It did have an effect on me. Let's come back to what we were saying. So let's go back to the panic attacks. How long would it take for somebody who's come to you because, the stresses of everyday life, they've really got to them, as, the way that the world is at the moment. How long would it take to cure?
That's a difficult question to answer. I can give my clients a rough time scale about how many sessions they may need, because everyone's different. And I'm able to say to my clients, or give them a rough idea, depending on how long they've had the issue. Okay, so for example, if someone's had an issue such as anxiety for the last 15, 20 years, it will take a number of sessions to allow them to get to a point where they can address those issues.
Right.
And a lot of that is taken from the consultation, when I get to know a lot more about my client. And then from then, they come to me for one session. And then after the session, when they come out for the next session, then I fill in a form which they can assess themselves. And based on the evaluation that they've given themselves, that determines how well the treatment's working. So initially, I might say you might want to come for 4 to 6 sessions, but it's up to the client to decide if they feel that once they've addressed their issues, they'll turn around and say, "Tee, thank you very much, I don't need to come and see you anymore." But I will always give them the opportunity, if they feel that they need to come back at a later date, because we all live busy lives. We have different things going on in our lives, personal issues, work issues, which may affect that person's ability to stay focused and not start to experience the anxiety or panic attacks that they've had previously.
Okay. Well, it sounds really, really interesting. So having heard this now, George, if you got any of these things going on here, or you knew of somebody that had any of these things going on here, is it something that you may now consider signposting them onto a hypnotherapy session?
Yeah, definitely. Now that I've heard from a point of view as well, from someone that's actually had the experience of the therapy, that it does work. Because I think maybe people would have that misconception or that prejudiced view that it wouldn't work straight away without even trying it.
Yeah.
So it's good that you do taster sessions for that reason.
Yeah. But thank you ever so much. It's been really, really interesting. So if somebody wants to speak to you in particular, because there are other hypnotherapists around, but yourself, you're based up in Lindley?
I'm at the Heritage Exchange in Lindley,
right.
HD3 3HR.
Right.
not a million miles away from here.
And you've got a Twitter account as well. I'm sure people can pick up on that.
Yes.
And find out a little bit more about you. But genuinely, thank you ever so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Helen.
No problem. Okay then, so now it's time for some news. Under current laws, doctors' working hours are Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. until 6 p.m. But this will no longer be the case. Doctors will be forced to work even at weekends. Our reporter, Nana Katanga, has more.
Under the new government plans, hospital doctors will have to work 7 days a week from April 2017. This follows after the Health Secretary Jeremy Hunt said a Monday to Friday culture in part of the NHS had tragic consequences. But the plan is not welcomed by doctors who think they will lose out financially because evenings and Saturdays will be paid at the standard rate rather than higher for extra hours. The British Medical Association has expressed concerns over the proposal and says some GP practices have stopped doing it or cut back their opening hours due to a lack of demand. If the plan is not convenient for doctors, members of the public are expressing their views over the plan. We meet some residents in the Kirklees area, and this is what they have to say.
Like, if you need specialist help, they normally don't refer you to it. They just brush you off or just tell you to wait when they don't contact you back.
So what will a 7-day NHS mean to you if you have to go and visit your GP even on Sundays?
I think for me, it's for going to the GP on weekdays is not very hard because I'm a student and I have days off. I think it mean more to people that work full-time during the week. So I think them working on the weekend won't benefit me as much.
Only when I feel ill, obviously. But it's probably maybe once every 3-4 months. That's about all really.
What will a 7-day NHS mean to you if doctors have to run clinics and surgery even on Sundays?
Yeah.
What would that mean to you?
Well, no, it would be handy right enough because you don't know when you're going to take ill or when you need pills. So it would be good. And for people working as well, it would be advantageous, wouldn't it?
So you think, are you likely to use these services if it's run on Sundays?
Yeah, probably would if I was ill because it's there.
What sort of change would you like to see in your local surgery?
Well, my surgery is quite good actually. And they do open at night time, late, but they don't open at the weekends. And sometimes you need a doctor at the weekends instead of an emergency doctor. Especially my wife as well, you see. She goes more to the doctors than I do. So yeah, it would be an advantage.
It'd probably mean that if I needed an appointment, it'd be easy to get one. Yeah.
So are you likely to use the service if it's implemented?
On Sundays?
Yeah.
No. Church on Sundays.
You don't get ill on Sundays?
No, I've got a church on Sundays, so I wouldn't, I'd go Saturday or sometime during the week, but I generally try not to go to the doctors anyway. Yeah, a couple of paracetamols and ride it out, be fine.
According to the government, a 7-day NHS service will speed up diagnosis and discharge times as well as reduce the amount of time patients need to spend in hospitals at weekends. Will this new move attract enough patients? The proposal raises more questions than answers. But the question remains how this new proposal will be met given the lack of staff and financial problems the NHS is currently facing.
Join us after the break when we will be talking about what there is to do in Huddersfield for this year's Freshers' Week. And remember, the weekly wind-up can be contacted by email at info@kirkleeslocaltv.com or on Twitter @theweeklywindup, and of course on Facebook.
However large or small your business, attracting new customers requires dedication and a lot of patience. Just like fishing, but you also need the right gear. Rods, reels,
lines, hooks, sinkers, lures, tackle box, tackle bag, net, bait, gaff, gloves, clothes, pocket knife, lunch.
Or you could simply advertise with KLTV. Online, grow your business and your clientele. KLTV, your vision made reality. Should have gone to KLTV.
Welcome back to this week's show with me, Helen Ashcroft. Before we talk about this year's Freshers, we have some more news for you. Now, a lot has been happening in this month of October, and in case you didn't know that, it's been actually designated by the campaigners as Online Safety Week. But how much do you actually know about keeping safe while surfing the net? Our reporter, Nana Katanga, finds out more.
The West Yorkshire Police have joined forces with campaigners to combat cyber crimes. According to the Financial Fraud Action, cyber attack has cost the UK economy more than £14 million between January and June 2015. Detective Inspector Vanessa Smith from the Cybercrime Unit said a key part of its personal campaign encourages people to think about what they make available online. Simple key precautions such as shredding bills and bank statements before putting them in the bin, regularly changing passwords, and not using passwords with personal details such as birthdays in can make a big difference. But how many people are aware of it?
I don't know about identity fraud that much. And I have different passwords for different sites and that kind of thing, so I try not to share my personal information. Have my Facebook privacy settings quite high and stuff like that. Like I say, not storing all my information online, so like on Amazon you can store your credit card details and stuff like that, so not having all that stored.
Campaigners have named this week as a week of keeping personal data safe. Campaigns such as Block the Web Monster and Get Safe Online, which run nationwide from the 19th to the 24th of October, are trying to encourage residents to boost their cyber security. We went out in the street of Kirklees to find out if local residents know more about keeping safe online. Have you ever been victim of identity theft?
No, I'm too careful. Yeah. I don't use Facebook, I don't use Twitter, and I just use conventional emails, and by doing that I don't have many problems in that respect. I'm careful on which sites I go on to, and if I need something that's a little bit sensitive, then I'm very careful what I do. And when I go on, I always make sure as soon as I've finished, I do an antivirus check, I do a malware check and clear out my computer every time. And if you do that, your computer stays safe. But if you don't, and if you just keep using it and using it and using it, you're asking for trouble. And I have a mobile phone, but I always use it for telephone. I don't use it just for contacting people willy-nilly, because that's exactly the way they get in. So I won't allow that to happen. I use it as a phone,
So do you think using social media can increase your
Oh, yes.
risk of being
Yes.
targeted?
Yes, and I also think it's time there was some regulation for companies taking information without your permission. And it seems to have become an attitude of a lot of these companies that they are above the law and they can do what they like with your information. And I think what we ought to do is to have a law which says you can copyright all your own personal information and anybody else who copies it is in breach.
Apart from being involved in a cybercrime week of action, the West Yorkshire Police have served a warning to 9 people who were believed to own spywares. And in the last 12 months, 39 people were brought to justice for cybercrime in a joint operation between the West Yorkshire Police and the Humber Cybercrime Unit.
Someone has tried hacking my email though. Yeah.
How did you know? How did you find
Because
that?
Yahoo sent me an email saying that someone from America has tried to access your account. Please change your password. So
Did you report it to the police?
no.
Why?
Hacks happen all the time.
So you don't think it's something that you can report?
Well, you can if it's serious enough, like for example your bank details or something like that, but I didn't. Because it wasn't actually hacked, it was just someone tried to access my account, so I just changed my password.
Thank you, Nana, for those 2 news stories. So second topic of the week is, well, what is there to do in Huddersfield for this year's Freshers? So I'm really pleased to be joined by George today. So welcome, George.
Hi.
Tell me, well, to start with, what year are you in at uni?
I've just graduated, so I was saying earlier on, I'm one of the vice presidents at the Students' Union.
Ah, right.
So they give you a chance to take a year out of your studies or do it after you've just graduated to work for the Students' Union and provide a student's perspective.
Right, so you've obviously enjoyed your time at Huddersfield University, which is, yeah?
It was good.
Brilliant. So that means that you're the ideal person to explain to all the new freshers what there is in Huddersfield and what it's all about. So tell me, why did you choose Huddersfield University? What was it initially?
The reason why I personally came out to Huddersfield was I wanted to get away from everything I knew, go somewhere, new culture, new area, completely different to what I already knew, and the facilities for music technology was very good. That's the degree that I did.
Right, okay. So I mean, when you move away, like you've said, this is the same for the majority of students that come to university. Tee, did you go to university?
No, I didn't have that pleasure actually.
No, well I did, but I sort of went as a part-time mature student, so I didn't live the student lifestyle. But I should imagine, I mean, as a student, when you move away from home and you're actually moving to a different town where you don't know anybody to start with, it can be a bit daunting, can't it?
I'm sure it must be. I tell a lie, I did go to university.
Okay.
I went as a mature student for about a year and a half whilst I was living in London. I started the law degree, but unfortunately I didn't finish it.
Right, did you do the student life?
No, because I was a mature student and I went to university in the evenings, so by the time I finished my course it was just time to go home and I was too tired after working a full day's work as well.
Right, but you see the students that are starting now come up and this is part of the lifestyle. So what is Freshers Week? Explain it to me. What's it all about?
Freshers Week was held about 3 weeks ago.
Right.
It was done by the Students' Union, so it's exclusive for them. We put on a range of activities, some involving obviously nights out and stuff like that, other things completely different. I'll go through some of the things that we did during the week, is that all right? We did open air festival down at Storsall Park, where Sigma played and Mr Jam played. Had nearly 2,000 students turn up to that, so it was absolutely massive. We did also different things like a campus tea party where we got tea and cakes in and just got people down to chat during the day. It's basically things like that, social activities that kind of break the ice for the freshers and just kind of integrate them into Huddersfield. And
right. Okay, so Freshers Week you said was 3 weeks ago.
Yep.
So of course they've done all that. They've got all that. I won't say they've got it out of the system because I'm sure there is student night in Huddersfield on a Wednesday night, is it? Right, okay. But there are other things to do in Huddersfield, aren't there? So what you tell me what there is for students that have arrived in the area and perhaps don't know what's available.
To start off with, I think the restaurants are pretty good in Huddersfield. I didn't expect that when I came up to it because I was thinking it's not a city.
Yeah.
It might not be the demand maybe for it, but there's a lot of independent restaurants, especially like Discovery Bay, for instance, or there's a tapas place called Mason La Pepper. So I think food for a start is very good up and until I've enjoyed it.
And do they do like an early bird menu? Because I appreciate that students haven't got the same cash.
We're not loaded.
No.
It depends really. They do some sort of offers in some places where you got early bird menu where you can go in. I know Gringos do that, which is a Mexican restaurant near Tesco's.
Yeah.
I don't know what the time is. I think it's between 6 and 7 possibly.
Right.
They do half price on all food, which is obviously a golden ticket for most
That's
students.
brilliant. So you will be based in the university?
Yep.
So do you have like a notice board? So, I mean, I know we're going to talk about other subjects, but like you've just mentioned those restaurants,
yep.
Do you have that information on the board so that people can come and actually see where you've been talking about?
What we did actually put out during Freshers Week, we made a survival guide for all the freshers, and I actually did a little article on that of like date spots, if you like, and that included a lot of restaurants, gave them a little value rating, the address and kind of like what's good about them. So we do little reviews like that. We also have our student newspaper called To HUD, who also do regular articles and that kind of thing. So we do actually give the information to them that way, and there's also a section on our website as well which kind of details what they can do in Huddersfield.
Brilliant. So we've spoken about the food, which obviously that was top of your priority list, you know, feed the bellies. What else is there?
There's a lot of really strange stuff actually that I've encountered in Huddersfield. Up the road from Greenhead Park actually there's a place called Live Escape.
What's that?
I haven't actually done it myself, but I've read up on it. You go in there with a group and you kind of given clues how to escape the place, and you're not allowed to take anything in with you, and you get a certain amount of time to do it. So I thought that was a pretty cool thing to do for...
I think I've heard of that, because I think they've got them around the country, haven't they?
They do, and apparently Huddersfield's is one of the best ones.
Is it?
According to TripAdvisor anyway. So.
Ah, right. And so it's based up... Where did you say it was, sorry?
Near Greenhead Park,
Right.
so kind of around that area. It's quite hidden away, but it's a good thing because it's almost untouched, like a hidden gem if you like.
And how many people do you need to do that? Do you need a group of 4, 6, do you know?
I think it's several, so yeah, around that kind of numbers.
Okay. So what else is there?
We've obviously got the Gal Farm Stadium, well, John Smith Stadium now, of course, where Huddersfield Town play and Huddersfield Giants. I know at the Students' Union we regularly advertise discounted tickets for Giants as well, which is really good.
Yeah.
We used to do Town, but we don't anymore. But it's good when you can pay like a £5 and go and see, obviously, a top division sporting spectacle.
Yes.
Other things is they do foot golf at a local golf club.
Now, that's thrown me. I understand football. Well, I don't understand the offside rule of football. Somebody tried to explain it to me once about a shopping line, you know, if you're queuing for a till and trying to push in, but I don't. So anyway, I understand basic football and I understand basic golf, but foot golf? What's that?
Basically, I think instead of using a golf ball and a club, you use your foot and a ball to get it in the hole.
Right.
And you go around, I think they do quite cheap offers as well for big groups, which is good.
Right.
We're looking to do that at the Students' Union as part of our Give It a Go week.
I think that's a really good idea. Whereabouts do they do it?
Bradley.
Oh, Bradley.
Golf Club.
Bradley Golf Club. Ah, right. Would you ever go at that?
Oh, definitely. I used to play football when I was growing up.
Yeah.
It was my favourite sport. I played a bit of golf, so it'd be quite interesting to see how I can combine the two.
There you go. If you do a more mature league,
Yes.
So you've got the young ones, and then you've got the more mature ones. Yeah. You know, it might be something that Tee's interested in doing. Now, there are some people that comment that Huddersfield's becoming a university town, and you've got the university students, and then you've got Huddersfield Town Centre. I mean, with that in mind, is there anything that's actually happening with the university to integrate the two?
I think we've established that being a university bang in the middle of the town, there's a lot of potential to be doing a lot of things within the community. So the 5 exec officers, the 4 vice presidents, one of them being myself and the president, we have a collective aim this year to make a community strategy brand.
Right.
This includes things like making more volunteering projects around the local community.
Yes.
So our students can get a bit of experience put on their CV, meet new people, and as well as giving back to the community.
Right.
Other things, obviously we've got a partnership with, I've already mentioned, with Town and Giants. To try and do little things to kind of integrate ourselves into the community a little bit more.
So the charities, the voluntary sector, do you already have links with those, or is that something you're going to look into?
We have volunteering projects that are regular in certain
Yeah.
places. I know that one of our student societies has a little allotment down at Stortall.
Right.
They grow fresh fruit and veg, and then they give it to a local welcome centre to feed the homeless, which is a good way of recycling things.
It is, that's brilliant. Absolutely
We
brilliant.
also do kind of weekend volunteering projects, which is called
Yes.
Students at the Heart of Huds, which was held a couple of weekends ago. They basically put on a few volunteering projects over one weekend. So some of the things they did, they got between 10 and 20 people to go down to Kirklees Juniors Football Club,
Yeah.
and they decorated the whole clubhouse. Another thing, they got quite a few stewards to work at the Mars and Jazz Festival,
Yeah.
which was a really good experience for students, as well as obviously helping out. So these are kind of things that we're doing at the moment to try and give back to the community.
That's brilliant. I mean, on this show, we've had guests from One Good Turn, which is a local charity, and the Real Food Project. So perhaps those are another two that you could look at tapping into.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've got RAG as a society, Raising Giving. They've got their set charities that they choose, but I know a lot of our clubs and societies are looking to do a lot more charity work this year.
Yeah.
So hopefully they should be included in some of those.
Oh, that's brilliant. So say there's a student, hopefully, from the social media that's going to go out from this. People are going to be interested in doing some voluntary work or finding out about the restaurants that you've spoken about. How do they get in touch with you?
Full of volunteering, they go on to huddersfield.su, and we've got a tab up there which says volunteering on there.
Right.
We have a little brokerage service, so it's kind of like a little job site if you like, and they can just pick and choose what they want.
Yeah.
They can streamline it to what genre the volunteering category comes under.
Yes.
For anything else, they can just pop up to level 5 on Student Central at the university to come have a chat with us.
Brilliant. I think it's been really interesting talking to you, George.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming. Okay, so finally, for the last time, a news story from Kirklees. And always on my shows, it's a feel-good story. Now, the Sci-Fest Yorkshire 2015 is a brand new science fiction festival being held across various venues in Kirklees. The festival launches on Friday the 23rd of October and runs until the 1st of November, with the final day events including a costume trail at the Tolson Museum, where everyone is encouraged to come dressed as their favourite sci-fi character. Throughout half-term, those who are fans of the classic War of the Worlds or are spaced out by the latest blockbuster, Interstellar, they're invited to join forces and come and visit the People's Show of Sci-Fi Collectibles. The exhibition runs from October half-term until early 2016 to coincide with the Sci-Fi Fest in Yorkshire. There's also a children's sci-fi drawing competition. And Kirklees Library holds a programme of special events for the entire family linked to both Sci-Fest Yorkshire and the Big Draw. If you're interested in taking part, you've to submit your entries at any Kirklees Library or at the Tolson Museum, including a name, age and contact details. And those have got to be submitted by Sunday the 1st of November. For any other information, including times, dates and directions, visit the Sci-Fest website at www.scifestyorkshire2015.wordpress.com. So that's it from this week's Weekly Wind-Up. I want to thank my guests for joining me here, and thank you all for watching this week's show. So thank you both very, very much. Please remember, the Weekly Wind-Up can be contacted by email at info@kirkleeslocaltv.com or on Twitter @The Weekly Wind-Up. And we can also be found on Facebook. Thank you ever so much for joining us. Goodbye.